Welcome to the BFF Report. I'm your host, Mike B, aka Phony, and today we're going to talk about World of Warcraft ZG patch 4.1. It's on the test realms. Highly suggest you guys go check it out. And before you do, obviously watch my video so you can know what the hell you're doing. Stay out of the green stuff. Let's get started. The first boss we talk about today is not going to be Venoxus. Now, when this goes live, you will typically almost always hit Venoxus first because it is kind of like on the way to everything else. But we're not going to do that, and it's for good reason. I'll tell you later. First boss up is going to be High Priestess Kilnara. She's located in the basement of one of the main buildings and surrounded by a dozen or so of your future Panther mounts. Kilnara herself is actually stupid easy to handle because her primary ability, Shadow Bolt, can be interrupted, kicked, counterspelled, shield reflected, and you may even be able to talk her out of casting it, to be honest, I don't know. After a few good shield backhands to the face, or in the near future, pummels, she goes into a short-range channeled cast that cannot be stopped called Tears of Blood. Simply run away, charge back in, and keep going. Eventually, she will also put up a knockback wave. You can't miss this thing, alright? But the range seems to be pretty much anything LOS. So try really hard not to get knocked back into the previous room, into that trash, you know, that you just kind of skip because you were lazy. Once she hits around 40% or so, she takes on her Panther form and summons a crazy cat lady number of cats. All have 150k HP, and they don't hit like kittens. Obviously, you want the tank to pick these up, but just be ready to blow some CDs at this point to keep from wiping here. We failed this the first time around because we focused too much on trying to get all the ads down. Second time, we just kind of ignored them and relied on just passively AoEing them as we burned through the boss, and it all just kind of fell together pretty well. Next up is Bloodlord Manicure and his trusty mount Ogun. Right now in the PTR, you can actually two-shot this boss using the Cauldron buff, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be removed for going live, so I'll focus on how to do it right. Looking around the arena here, the first thing I assumed was that all these spirits would eventually be ads, and they actually are, but they're ads that are friendly to you and your party, which means that it's important to keep them alive because Manicure will one-shot random members in your party, and when he does, he yells ding, gets a grats, and a buff that increases his damage and stacks with each kill. Consider this your enrage timer. Outside of the random insta-gib, he also summons spikes from the floor that do massive damage, but are very hard to miss, so just avoid those. He also tags a random party member with blood drain, leeching health, and gaining a 10% damage bonus. His 200k HP mount will run around and kill the friendly spirits, and after you kill it, Manicure will eventually, after a minute or so, re-res him. So in case you haven't picked up on this by now, the spirits actually help by resurrecting you, so keeping the raptor down should be a priority because the fewer spirits, the fewer attempts you have to, get this guy down. All in all, this is actually a really easy fight so long as you get him down before he starts one-shotting the tank with an auto attack. Next up is Zanzil, who is clearly busy developing another really annoying 7-day debuff when you walk in on him. Now this is a high mobility fight that requires the use of each cauldron throughout the room periodically as you proceed to work him down. He has a couple of attacks that are easily avoided and all that, but the main thing here is how he goes from summoning mobs to changing the environment around you. If he floods the room with poison, run, rocket belt, sprint, heroic slam dunk your ass over to the green cauldron and it'll give you a buff that reduces the 30k nature damage ticks by like 90%. If he summons zombies, run to the red cauldron to pick up a pulsing AoE fire spell that should help you mow down the ads. Lastly, he summons a couple of giant berserker trolls that will Hulk smash anyone that doesn't have the ice buff from the white cauldron. They may even do it with the buff up, to be honest. I guess it just depends on what kind of mood he's in. Again, another boss that, outside of having to stay on your toes with moving from point to point, is relatively easy to down. Next up is what should, I guess, be the last boss, Jindo. There are two phases to this fight, but before you start it, you should kill the Zerka trolls surrounding this main platform because they will help you in phase 2. Shortly after starting the fight, Jindo spawns a bubble, get inside the bubble, bring him in 2. This isn't the most effective way of doing this, as you're supposed to use this to only protect yourself from his powerful AoE spell, but it worked fine for us, so I can't really complain. After he drops to around 75%, he will pull all of you over to the spirit phase, and this is where those trolls come in handy because they're going to help control the number of Twisted Spirit ads that make destroying Hekar's chains a huge pain in the ass. After eventually destroying all the mal points, you are phased back and Jindo is dead. It's very dramatic, really. Kind of makes me feel like this fight didn't quite go over the way it was supposed to. Now before we get on to Venoxus, I wanted to cover this area that I guess it doesn't really count as a boss. It's kind of like a random elite boss mob generator. You come up here, you kill all these masks, and then you start running around and clicking on things, and they start floating in the middle of the room. You get a couple things going, and then all of a sudden, a boss appears, and this guy comes out. So first off, there was this troll guy who pretty much magic missiled me in the face, and I was dead, and then the next time we came around, it was this big Zerker troll. So I don't know what this thing's about, and I don't know if it drops fat loots because there's no loot on the PTR, so I guess we'll just have to find out when it goes live. And now to Venoxus. This fight is the new Hagen Dance 2.0 with lasers. It's super easy as long as you can follow the basic generic boss fight rule of don't stand in shit that kills you. First, the ranged players should spread out around the room and stay the hell away from each other throughout the fight unless it's absolutely necessary to cross paths. But Noxus has two main attacks when he's in caster form. Both of them do a lot of potential damage, and both of them are really green. The first is a channel attack that can be easily interrupted, and the other is a link that attaches two random party members together and does a crap load of damage, especially if you are standing next to each other. Hence the reason to stay spread out. I can't count the number of times two players ended up running towards each other after getting linked. It's actually kind of funny. Now, if you are meleeing the boss, keep in mind that even if you are not linked with a tank, you will still AoE him/me, so please go away. Venoxus will periodically switch to Serpent form, where he casts a frontal cone AoE spell that will kill you and is, by the way, also very, very green. And after that, he drops a green pool on the ground that will also do a good amount of damage to the melee and is also green. So tanks, don't get too comfy, just try to move him around a little bit. Also, notice the green maze-like design that's being drawn on the floor? Deductive logic should tell you that it's something that you should probably not touch unless absolutely necessary, because it does like 40 to 60k ticks and it kind of hurts. After a few breaths, he will move back to the top of the stairs and begin firing lasers everywhere. By the way, these are green. The lasers don't stay between the lines, so just keep moving and you'll be fine. Once that's done, the maze disappears if Venoxus falls to the floor in a weakened state for about 8 seconds, so take this opportunity to get some good solid deeps in and get yourself back in position as he begins his rotation again. As you can see, it's not hard. Most of this video was actually shot with me tanking in PvP gear, but obviously it requires the support of players who are capable of doing more than face-rolling fan of knives. Darnell. Alright, so that was just ZG. Now, ZA just came out like today, so I might go back and do another video for them. I don't know if it'll be another BFF report. Maybe I'll bundle that in with the Firelands Rag stuff that's coming out. You see Rag got some legs? What's up? Maybe we'll do some squats. What's happening with that dude? It looks really... It doesn't look very good. I'm not sure I would really like the legs. What do you guys think about Rag's legs? Let me know in the comments below. aka Mike B on Twitter or on Facebook. And I'm going to GDC like pretty much right now. So I will see you guys later. Bye.